Hello and welcome to another episode of Speed Mentorship. My name is Matt Mackley, your host. Well, here on Speed Mentorship, we get an opportunity to chat with top-notch leaders who are world-class at what they do. We ask them tough and challenging questions to peer into what makes them uniquely better, what makes them truly successful in what they do. Really excited for today's guest, Andrew Liu. Andrew comes from the industry that I'm in, the garage door industry. Andrew has been in this industry for a long time. One of my last questions is actually asking him where the garage door industry is going. But Andrew comes with years of experience, not just within the industry, but in a leadership role, and has some really unique insights into how he continues to stay at a high performance throughout the day, and he talks a little bit about biohacking. So really excited for today's episode. So without further ado, let's go ahead and dive in. Andrew, thanks for joining us on today's podcast episode. Super stoked to dive in and just learn a little bit more about you and your company and what you do. So, first question I have for you is if you could just give us maybe a 1-2 minute intro about yourself and your background.
Sure. So first of all, thank you for having me. I'm stoked to be here. So Guardian is our family business. We manufacture access products mainly for the garage door industry. Um, Garage door components, garage door operators. We have manufacturing facilities in Shanghai, in Shenzhen. We have an R&D center in Mexico, two new plants coming online here in Malaysia. And Guardian USA is actually our sales and distribution side of the business, arm of the business. Originally from Taiwan, born there, moved to Vancouver when I was about 4 years old, and spent most of my childhood there, and then Taipei for high school, and then went to University of Wisconsin for college, and that's where I met my wife. And then shortly after that, I joined the family business, and I was working as our international sales manager for about 4 years out of our Shanghai office, and I kind of had enough of China, so wrote a business plan, got a loan from my dad, and decided to move to the States. Um, I did survey the market, did a couple trips, one down the East Coast, another one through the Midwest, and then through the West Coast, just to gather some market intel and see where we can where a suitable place to set down roots. But end of the day, man, I just wanted to live in LA, so I decided on LA. It won out, and that's where Guardian USA was established, and that was in 2012. And so most recently, I got married in LA. Both of our kids were born in LA. And then 2021, we went back to Taiwan. My parents are there. Just go visit them. It was going to be a quick 2-3 week trip, and then that's when COVID really started hitting, and LA started shutting down, and there was restrictions, all this, and so we decided to stay a bit longer. And during that time, we started looking at, hey, we want the kids to have some exposure to Asia, and we started looking at Singapore. There's a lot of tension between China and Taiwan, and we thought, hey, Singapore might be a good base. So shortly after Singapore lifted restrictions, we moved the family here, and I've been here since September of last year. Came here to set up our family office and really put down some roots here in Singapore.
That's cool. What's your favorite parts about living in Singapore?
Dude, it's the access to other Southeast Asian countries. So, we are 45-minute drive to Malaysia, actually to two of the factories that we have currently being built. That's really close. Hour and a half flight to Thailand. To Indonesia is about an hour and a half. We just came back from the Maldives. That's about a 3.5 hour flight, but it's can really see a lot, do a lot, and geographically, it's close to Australia and New Zealand as well. It's about 6-7 hours
Yeah.
down to Australia.
That's cool, man. What made you ultimately decide to go into the family business? What was some of the main driving forces there?
Dude, honestly, like my dad, since I was as as early as I can remember, he's always talking shop with me. So I always knew I was going to be joining the family business. It's not just the relationship I have with my dad, but it's just I was kind of born into it. So when I was in high school, my dad sent me to the factories of our customers, and that's where I spent my summers, man, like working on the floor and just touring and seeing how everybody's operation worked. And it's part of me.
That's so cool. So cool. So, with Guardian, what would you say are some of the unique value propositions or things that make Guardian uniquely better in the space that it's in?
Yeah. So number one, we're a family run business, right? It's just me and my dad. So there isn't much bureaucracy, and really our focus is creating value for our customers. And if we can't create value for our customers, then we cease to exist, right? So we tailor our services. I mean, just not just on the product side, but also the way that the product is delivered ultimately gets to our customers. Different customers have different needs depending on where they are in the supply chain. So we work closely with them on removing the logistical headache, and also the supply chain headache from the equation. And if customers come to us with a unique design, we do all of the tooling in-house. We have engineers in Mexico, in Shanghai, in Taiwan, and a lot of these engineers have 20 years of experience within our industry. So we advise our customers on designs, what we've seen, and then from the tooling stage to production to delivery of the product. I mean, it's all done in-house.
Yeah. And just to clarify, what is your exact role in Guardian right now? What are the things you're responsible for? What's your title?
Title, I am, I guess, the CEO or managing director of Guardian USA. I am, I guess, the managing director of Guardian Shanghai, of Guardian Malaysia. Beam Labs is our retail brand that we sell through retail, so Home Depot, Menards, on Amazon. Also the managing director there, and yeah, so we're a lot of hats.
Just a few things you're responsible for, huh?
Just a few, just a few. Yeah, I like to keep myself busy. No, but
Yeah.
really, honestly, we have a fantastic team in place, and it's really allowed me to do a lot more.
That's so cool, man. So what would you say are some of the top challenges that Guardian is facing right now, and how are you guys looking to overcome some of those challenges?
Yeah, that's a great question. I think, I mean, starting from COVID, right? It's really it's wreaking havoc on the supply chain, not just the supply chain, and able to get our hands on material, but also labor shortages and soaring material cost, soaring freight cost, and being able, our plant in Shanghai was it was on lockdown for almost 2 months. And we've had to work with the local government, getting an exception so we can operate at 50-60% capacity. As long as, I mean, we're fortunate we have a dormitory on site, so as long as we remained a closed loop, we were still able to produce. So we didn't have too many customers pissed off at us. We were still able to ship product, and and move material. But it's a lot of communicating with our customers and helping them understand, hey, the fluctuation in costs and delays in shipments. It's a lot of it is out of our control, but I mean, we literally had to move mountains to make sure that our customers didn't run out of product, right? So, instead of shipping a 40-foot container via ocean, I mean, we've had to air freight 40-foot containers worth of product.
That's cheap.
So, yeah. And that was done a few times, right? It wasn't just once. So really at the end of the day, our customers have been loyal to us. They've had our back. So, it's the right thing to do to have their back when shit hits the fan.
Yeah, no doubt. So what is a for somebody in your position, in your role, what does a typical day look like for you? What's the stuff that you're personally doing?
Yeah, so operation wise, I've really totally removed myself from operations. It's my direct reports. I check in with the stakeholders, internal stakeholders, and then on the business development side, I still check in with the key decision makers. I'm talking about within our industry, right? It's maintaining that relationship, checking in, and seeing if there's new opportunities that we can potentially work on. And that's the best way to get a pulse on our industry. So that's about 20% of the time is doing that. This is on the Guardian side, and another 20% is probably looking at the broad macro economy, looking at trends, because I'm an econ major, and with our family office, I'm really responsible. I'm the steward for our family's wealth, and so 20% of the time is looking at our existing investments, any new opportunities that support the current trend and macro view. We get a lot of decks that comes across my desk, and being in Singapore, there's always somebody trying to pitch you something. So that's really, I count that part of the networking as well. So that's about another 20% of my time. And I don't like to work too hard. And I'm pretty selfish. I spend a lot of time with personal development, and be it on my body, on my mind. It's just really self-improvement. I'm actually pretty into biohacking. So depending on what I'm reading and any inspiration I get, I'm very very experimental with biohacking.
So what's a few interesting, cool biohacks that you've learned recently that you've been applying?
Absolutely, man. So a couple easy things, right? Okay, so I've been doing intermittent fasting for about 2-3 years now, and this is I fast for 16 hours and during the 8-hour period where I'm not fasting, I pretty much eat whatever I want. That's really become a way of life now because we have 2 young kids. So we have dinner at 5:30, and that's my last meal, and I don't start eating again until about 11:30 the next day. That's been very easy to do. It's just been a habit now, and that's really leveled out my energy throughout the day. I've noticed that it's very beneficial. You can feel it. First week, your brain gets a little muddled, but then after that, it's the mental clarity is amazing. Another really good one is the order in which you eat things, right? So the energy spikes that you have throughout the day, that's fluctuates with the amount of glucose that you have in your body, right? You have a glucose spike, then you're going to crash if that curve flattens out. So actually changing the order in which you eat things, it has a huge impact. So start with fiber, start with veggies first, and then move to protein and fats, and then carbs after that. And you can eat the same amount, the same things, but if you switch up the order, it helps flatten that glucose curve. So sustained energy.
Is that in one particular meal, or is that like
just the way of eating? Just, I mean, lunch, dinner, like if you're going to be having a big bowl of pasta, have some broccoli before that, or have a salad before you eat that. And that's really easy. I mean, it's just changing the order. Or if you don't have, fiber in front of you, take a little shot of vinegar. That also flattens out that glucose spike.
That's
So,
cool. Yeah.
yeah.
That's is there any other biohacks that you could think of that you've implemented recently that have been
cold showers. That's also I don't really feel the benefits, but after a cold shower you feel good. But the principle is the same, right? With cold showers and also fasting, it's basically you're stimulating your mitochondria so it can regenerate. It's you have these things called telomeres, and the as your telomeres age, it shortens. So this kind of slows down aging. It stimulates your mitochondria to kind of tell your cells it kind of kickstarts it again. I'm not going to talk about the science because I'm going to botch it, but that's kind of the concept behind it. Keeps you young.
I've heard of cold showers before. How cold does it have to be to get those benefits?
So
I've tried to do some of this, and I turn it on, and I'm like, am I killing myself, or can I put it? What's the threshold? What's the ratio?
So I don't know what the threshold is. And dude, you're in Ohio. I'm in Singapore, right? So the ambient temperature outside is 80 degrees, right? So it doesn't, even when I have my water on cold, it's not that cold. It's maybe 60, 70 degrees, right?
Okay.
Whereas in Ohio, if it's winter, you turn on the cold shower, it's pretty darn cold. So I don't think I don't know if there's an exact number, but it's really just to shock your body, and I think that's good enough.
That's cool. I love that. I love the biohacking. I try and do a lot of stuff like that myself. I think those are kind of biohacking life hacks in general. I think that's super cool. And this kind of ties into the next question, which is successful habits that you do. What are some of the successful habits that you do on a routine basis that are kind of ingrained in who you are and help you to be successful?
Yeah. So, so a lot of people I know, they wake up super early. They set their alarm clock at 5 a.m., 4 a.m., whatever it is. Get a real early start. I actually don't do that. I don't set an alarm unless I have something important or a commitment that I have to get to. But generally, I don't set an alarm. But I naturally wake up pretty early, probably 7 o'clock. And the first hour I'm up, I block everything out. So no devices, no phones. I get about 30 minutes of exercise in, 30 to 60 minutes of exercise in. And then I sit down and have breakfast with my kids before they go to school. That's really non-negotiable. And getting that workout in first thing in the morning really gets my day going, right? It sets the tone. I don't have to worry about it. It's not in the back of my mind that I have to get my workout in. You just get up, get it done. And really doing little things, biohacking, the stuff that we just mentioned, really having my body and my mind be operating optimally. That's very important. And especially, because I do travel quite a bit to the US, to, around Asia as well. So if my body is operating optimally and I have this routine, it doesn't matter what time zone I'm in. It's the first thing I do, right? It's get a workout in, kind of reset, come out of my fast, and then start my day. It's not waking up and looking at emails, and then your mind gets cluttered with all these things that distract you. So generally after I have coffee with my kids. I mean, my kids are eating breakfast, I'm having coffee, but after they go to school, I'll sit down and I'll take a look at the 3 to 5 things that I want to accomplish that day. And this is done. I mean, I write these things out, kind of plan out my day the night before I go to sleep. So number one, that helps me sleep, right? So I'm not laying in bed thinking, oh, did I forget this? Did I forget that? I put everything down on paper. Actually, I keep a journal. So I keep it in my journal. So the next morning I'll take a look at it. And these are the 3 to 5 most important things, most impactful things I can do that day that I want to accomplish. And yeah, that's really it. There's nothing
How,
else.
how many hours of sleep do you get a day on average?
I would say about 7 hours, 6 to 7 hours.
Okay. And then how many meetings a day do you have on average, roughly?
Uh, Boy, I would say a busy day. I'm 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 on the phone or in person probably combined for 4 to 5 hours.
Okay.
But I mean, what's worked for me is kind of blocking off time, right? So I never have a meeting where there's an indefinite finish. And I'm kind of, I recognize that I'm in, a very fortunate position where I can say, okay, you have 30 minutes. Let's let's get it done, right? Because I've noticed if you don't set kind of a time limit on the meeting, there's a lot of BS going back and forth. So that's been effective. But obviously, with a customer, with a prospect, you can't
Yeah.
structure it like that.
You're done.
Yeah,
You're
yeah.
done. Shut up now.
So you got any more? I gotta go, man.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, I mean, all internal stuff. We try to keep it short and to the point.
Awesome. Awesome.
Yeah.
What, kind of, continuing to move along, what do you think drives you to be successful? Do you have like an innate drive and what is that? I mean, what do you think?
Yeah. Yeah, so I'm just very competitive by nature. I think starting when I was really young, I played sports competitively. I was on the high school volleyball team and the basketball team, and there's a strong desire to win. Right, I still hate the feeling of losing, and so I think that drive in not just winning, but to leave it all on the court, that still carries over to on a professional base, right? And now that I have two kids, I want to set a good example for my kids, and it's I want them to see it takes a lot to be successful, and it's a full time. You just can't turn it off, right? It's either you got it or you don't. It's either you want it or you don't, and
Yeah.
there's no gray area. And more I guess a more aspirational perspective is I want to be a good productive citizen and contribute and making a positive impact to our world. And the more resources you have, the bigger the influence and the larger the lever you have in making an impact. So I strongly believe that, and that's what gets me out of bed in the morning. And to be honest, I mean, I'm the most excited about Monday mornings, man, because that's when everybody gets back to work. And
Yeah.
the weekend is kind of when I catch up and plan out my week. But come Monday morning, I'm ready to rock and roll.
I love it. I'm the exact same way, man. That's
Yeah.
that's that's so solid. And also, as we look at like life principles, what about that? Are there certain life principles that you live by, that you kind of keep at the center?
Yeah, I think honesty and integrity, those are just you must have, and anybody I associate with or deal with, work with, is that's the most basic. And I also really value freedom, right? And I'm talking about all kinds of freedom. It's freedom to do what I want, freedom to do things that I don't want to do, freedom from my emotions and things that might disturb my peace. For me, freedom is really that's everything, man. It's being
Yeah.
able to say no to something you don't want to do, not being bothered by when somebody says something to you. To me, that's freedom. And other principles, life principles, I would say, they're more mental models, and it's things that kind of dictate how you view, judge, and make decisions on a daily basis, right? And for me, I have very strong opinions that are weakly held. So I will feel very strongly about something, but an open mind. If hey, you make a better point, or you bring something up that disputes that, or that kind of challenges that, then I'll pivot and change my perspective.
Mm.
So that's I think it's important to have that versatility, and as an entrepreneur, as somebody overseeing multiple businesses, and from a leadership standpoint, it's important to be able to pivot and admit you're
Yeah.
wrong, or adopt a different perspective.
What is your viewpoint on criticism, and what kind of tips do you have for not just receiving criticism, but also giving criticism? Obviously, that's a really important aspect of leadership, really important
Sure.
aspect of life. If you're not able to take constructive criticism, you're only going to go so far. So, what are some of your thoughts there?
Yeah, so I think everybody takes criticism differently, right? I welcome criticism. I don't My feelings don't get hurt easily, and I don't take things personally. I want to get better, and if you can challenge me and tell me I'm wrong and show me why I'm wrong, then hey, man, I'll listen to you. You have my ear. And I really judge criticism through my own lens, and if it makes sense, then I'll take action and make a change. So really, that's I guess how I take criticism. But in terms of giving criticism, and this is something I learned, when I back in college, is what do you call it? Like the criticism sandwich. You
Oh, yeah, yeah.
start off with something positive, and then you kind of give your feedback, and then you end with something sweet. So, it's all in the presentation, right? And how that information is presented, because being in our position, it's the point is getting your point across effectively, and creating a change, right, for the better. So you can criticize all you want, but if you're talking to a brick wall, it's not going to be effective. So I'm a big believer of how you deliver that, and ultimately how it has to be effective.
Yeah, yeah, totally agree. Um, Moving on, next question is about stress. And same thing in a leadership role, any leadership role, you're going to be encountering high levels of stress, a lot higher than I think the average person. So, I always think it's fascinating how different people handle and cope with stress. So, how do you handle and cope with stress? What are some different triggers or mechanisms that you have in place to deal with that appropriately?
Yeah, so I never discount um, the stress that other people feel, right? If somebody loses a job and they can't put food on the table for their family, I can't imagine what kind of stress that might be, right? So I never downplay or say, hey, I have more important shit to deal with, so I get to be more stressed. But for me, exercise definitely helps. Getting a workout in, getting my heart rate up, that helps. And another thing that really helps is kind of zooming out, and taking a different perspective, right? Zooming out by, I mean, hey, if let's say we lose this customer, that's 10% of our revenue, we're going to be, it's gonna cause us to have a bad year. But if I look back and kind of zoom out, hey, my kids are happy, they're healthy, my family's healthy,
Hmm.
we have all these great things that we take for granted, and really just practicing gratitude, and see what we have in front of your eyes. And that's for me personally, right? Somebody else, it might be their dog, whatever it is, it might be, who knows, right? But at the end of the day, if you have your health, if you have your family, that's that's
Yeah.
pretty darn good.
Yeah, and I like what you said about not downplaying other people's stress as well. I think that's a great point, because yeah, we all are experiencing
I,
various levels. Um,
yeah.
so Would you say you are more of an introvert or an extrovert? And whichever one you are, what kind of advice do you have for either introverts or extroverts on leadership?
Oh boy, I think I'm an extrovert. I've done the 16 personalities. I can't remember exactly what letters I am, but I've been told I'm an introvert. I feel like an introvert. Um, but in terms of leadership advice, I would say you just have to know yourself, right? And put yourself in an environment and situations where you can be at your best. You can put yourself in a position where you can thrive and not hinder, be it performance, be it you know you just have to be operating at a high level. And by knowing yourself, you can kind of avoid situations where you may be at a disadvantage or you may be operating suboptimally, right? And that all starts with knowing yourself.
Mm.
I know if I'm tired or if I'm hungry, generally I'm probably not the best person to hang out with or be around. So it's really just knowing yourself, right? And I knew I was going to be on a talk with you tonight on this interview, so right before the call, I went out for a walk because I knew get the blood going and get the serotonin going. So I come back because it's generally 9 o'clock. I'm winding down and um,
Yeah.
getting ready for bed. So it's really knowing yourself and the little things you can do to kind of put yourself in a good position.
What about mantras? Is there specific things that you tell yourself on daily, weekly basis? To get yourself in the right mindset, to get yourself in the right perspective. Do you have any of those?
The one thing that comes to mind, things that come up, I ask myself, is this something I have control over, right? And if I don't have control over this thing, or if there's nothing I can do about it, then I don't stress about it. Because when I started Guardian in the Guardian USA, every little thing would just get me stressed out, and then everything was the end of the world until you realize if you can't control it, then there's no sense stressing about it. I mean, you just put it away because there's no amount of stress or nothing you can do about it. There's no sense for it to stress over it.
Yeah.
So that's really helped me a lot. It also helped with my decision making. Um, and
Yeah.
also, I wouldn't say a mantra, but certain mental models that come to mind. Really probabilistic thinking, right? It's taking a more mathematical approach to making assumptions, and the basis for making these assumptions. And I try to think more often I try to base all decision making off of this mental model, this model, because you're looking at the expected value, right? If you think the probability of this happening is 80% and this is the outcome, plus the probability of failure, and which leads to this outcome. And if you keep making EV positive decisions, I think in the long term, you're gonna end up you're gonna be in a good position.
Yeah. Yeah. I like that. I try and make all decisions as well by, facts and data and not
Yeah, yeah,
let
yeah.
emotions get in the way of, and I don't care if it's my thought or, I always say like, may the best idea win. I don't care if it's my idea or
Yep,
somebody else's idea, whichever one has the most logical,
yep.
fact driven thought process, that's who's going to win. Last two questions I got for you is, what kind of advice, like final advice, do you have for the next generation? Maybe you think about your kids, or a younger you. What kind of advice do you have for them?
Yeah. Finding a passion. I think that's really important. I mean, don't go through because you think this is something you have to do or you're being steered in this direction. Dream big and fail fast, right? If you're gonna do something, do it with conviction. And if you fail, then figure out why you failed and pivot. I think what's also very important is understanding how money works and how the economy works. And I think that's something that our education system has not done a great job in preparing. At least when we were going to school, there was very little about you know how money works, how to manage your money, how to invest your money. I think that's absolutely important, especially at a very young age, where the compounding effect. I mean, you have to be you have to have that at the back of your mind, right? And making all decisions, and then continue upgrading yourself, man. I mean, have a thirst for knowledge. You want to keep upgrading and making sure you're staying current with the times, and continue to make yourself better. And if you're going to be working for the man, you have to make yourself indispensable, right? Find a way to make yourself indispensable. And that's really, that's something I hammer home with all of our team members is you got to make yourself indispensable, because if you're not, then, shit hits the fan, then you're probably going to be the first to be let go, right? You have to make yourself indispensable.
And then, I got to ask you this question as the finisher, because we are in the garage door industry. You and I are going to be in the garage door industry for, hopefully a long time.
Yeah.
And I'd love to hear your vision and your thought on where you think the garage door industry is going in the next 5 to 10 years.
Yeah, man. So I guess I'll break this down into kind of two parts. One is really the business side of it. I think I think there's going to be continued consolidation in our industry, right? So from service companies to manufacturers, we've already seen a lot of that. Private equity activity going on the manufacturing side, as well as few on the service side. I think our industry is ripe for consolidation. And it might not be a bad thing, but I definitely see that continuing, at least for the next 3 to 5 years. And on the I guess on the actual garage door side, right? I kind of see the garage space being used more as an intermediary between the outside world and your home, and less for storing your car, right? As we get into more of a shared economy where you have your Ubers and Lyfts and automated autonomous vehicles, I don't think the garage space is going to go away. I do see maybe builders will start putting HVAC, your security system, all this plumbing, put that so I guess it can all be serviced by giving the technician access to your garage instead of allowing them to enter your home, right? So this way, I mean, a lot of it you can kind of see already. You have delivery through Amazon, right? Through Amazon Key, where the delivery drivers can open your garage and drop off packages. You have Amazon Fresh delivering groceries. I think that can probably be delivered through the garage as well. But what about dry cleaning? What about somebody here to walk your dog, or taking care of maintaining your HVAC unit or whatever, right? But I think if home builders start designing homes where these units are based in the garage rather, and having that kind of segregated from the rest of the home, it allows the homeowner flexibility on granting access to kind of an intermediary hub rather than into the main home.
That's brilliant. That's very interesting.
Who knows? Or maybe I'm a little biased because I don't want the garage door to go away.
Yeah.
But who knows, man?
Me either, man. That's super interesting, though. We got this recorded, so I'll, we'll play this back 5 years from now. We'll see how close you are. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, hey, Andrew, I appreciate your time, your leadership, and your wisdom on today's podcast. So thank you.
Absolutely, man. I appreciate you having me, and yeah, it was a pleasure.
Well, hopefully you guys found value in today's episode. If you did, hit that like and subscribe button. Probably my top takeaway was his talk about biohacking and just talking about little ways that you can optimize little things that you do to get a little bit better. In fact, I never really heard about eating food in different orders for your body to be able to stay at a high energy level throughout the day, to maintain a high glucose level throughout the day. I just thought that was fascinating and something I'm definitely going to have to try. If you guys found value in this, would love to hear some comments on other things that we can add, other questions that we can add for future guests. And as always, guys, really appreciate you being a part of our leadership network and look forward to seeing you on the next episode.